Welcome everyone to Three in the Keystone, episode 22, Deuce Deuce. I've got Chris Guest, I've got Al Ryan, the normal crew in the building. And guys, we got to be flexible when it comes to topics in the sports world and what we're going to do. Don't want to break down the third wall, the fourth wall, whatever it is. But there's a lot of planning that goes into the weekly topics, and you can get a curveball thrown at you at any minute, and no pun intended, but the Phillies make a big move signing Trea Turner yesterday.
We're breaking all the walls down, baby. We got Trea Turner.
Let's go. Let's go. So that'll be our first topic tonight. We will jump into the Trea Turner contract, the Philadelphia Phillies offseason, and where do we go from now? But we talked about it right after the season ended. There were 4 big fish in that shortstop pond. We were going to get one of them. We just didn't know which one it was, but we all wanted Turner, and they got the deal done yesterday. 11 years, $300 million, no trade clause. Average annual value, $27 million, which is probably lower than most people expended. Chris, initial thoughts on the deal?
I saw today how the report came out that San Diego offered $42 million more, and he said, nah, I want to go to Philly. So that makes him a Philly ball through and through at this point.
Yeah.
11 years, no trade clause, means he wants to be here, wants to grow and develop here. Not grow, he's already kind of grown, but don't know if he's a founding man or whatever, if he wants his kids to grow up here like Bryce said that was important to him. But he's around his boys again. He's around Bryce, he's around Kevin Long. And we talked about this before in the summertime, how those odds came out around the All-Star break that Trea Turner's the favorite to get him next season was going to be the Phillies. And we all were kind of like jaw dropped, like, really? Like, where is that coming from? And I guess what's it, 6-7 months later, here we are.
And I remember, Chris, we talked about it. You mentioned that probably our 3rd or 4th episode overall, the Trea Turner thing. And I kind of blew it off as if it was just, smoke. But here we are, and it's a crazy run from where we were in September to where we are now with our Phillies baseball. In regards to the average annual, I'm sorry, not the average annual, the life of the contract, 11 years, is it concerning? Like maybe a little bit, but at the end of the day, that's the way baseball is going. And again, a lot of these guys seem to be older or a little younger than Trea Turner. But a lot of the contracts now are these 10, 12-year deals that you're seeing, and that's the price you got to pay. Francisco Lindor, Mike Trout, Harper. There's many, many more that have signed these double-digit year contracts for the security of it, and that's the price you pay. And look, at the end of the year, I ran these numbers. Who knows what $27 million is going to be 11 years from now?
Thank you. That's exactly what I'm about to say.
So I made a note here. In 2011, which would be 11 years ago, the highest paid player in baseball was Alex Rodriguez. He made $32 million a year. Last year, the highest paid player in baseball was Max Scherzer, who made $43 million a year. So it's a $10 million difference. However, Trea Turner right now, correct me if I'm wrong, is going to be the 27th highest paid player in baseball.
Yep.
The 27th highest paid player in baseball in 2011, ironically, was Chase Utley, who made $15 million per year. So if you kind of translate that out, and apples aren't always apples, but if it's the equivalent of a $15 million contract guy now, Turner might not be productive, but it's something that you could handle at that point in time.
All the money in baseball is monopoly money anyway. None of it matters. Who cares? You know what? Like, just give these guys the money, sign them to these mega deals. It doesn't matter. I was in a different place 10 years ago. I would have said, oh, on the back end, we're going to be stuck with him when he's 40. I don't care. We talked about it before. Bryce Harper came to this town, and all of a sudden the doors are open, and Philly is the place to be. We're talking about the best shortstop in baseball, turning down more money from San Diego, who has a good team. They're a World Series contender. And all of a sudden, he walks away from that so he can come play in Philadelphia, because we know what happened. We know he had some phone calls. We know he had some text messages, but we know he watched the playoffs.
Yeah,
we know he saw the atmosphere. Yeah. And at the end of the day, he's a guy that wants to perform in front of those crowds. He's not scared of it, and I love him for it, and the city's going to love him for it. So from day one, he is already off on the right foot. Now, I wanted to just mention a couple of things. I know you probably have some numbers in front of you. He's a career 302 hitter, 355 on base percentage. He had 27 stolen bases last year, hits righties and lefties. What I like is that since 2020, he has a 357 batting average at the bank, 403 on base at the bank. So he hits and he walks at the bank. He's going to be playing there. I know we're going to probably shift into talking about the lineup, but if we have him batting in the leadoff spot, now all of a sudden he's setting the table. I mean, he's a guy that's going to get on, get over, and we're going to get him in. And so I was curious to hear from you guys, what our thoughts are about the lineup now going forward.
Well, I think it would just be asinine if they don't have him lead off. I think that's utterly ridiculous to have a guy like him who I mean, the guy, like, what do you look for in a leadoff hitter? You look for a guy that can start the game, literally lead off, start the game on a hot foot. All right, get on base, steal a bag, walk if you need to, make the pitchers work the count, all those kind of things. And he's shown that he can excel in all those categories. I mean, last year he actually had like 131 strikeouts, which was his second most. He had 132 in 2018. But other than that, in 2019, he had 113. 21, he had 110. So he doesn't strike out. He strikes about an average amount, I think. But he also, with that, you're getting a guy who can steal between 20 and 30 bags a year. That helps from the leadoff spot. You're getting a guy who can hit doubles. He had 39 doubles last year, 34 doubles in 21. So he can extend, he can get extra base hits to start off innings. He has pop in his bat. So you don't really lose a lot of pop. I mean, compared to Schwarber, you do, but compared to other leadoff hitters, you're not losing a lot of pop or anything like that. He's, in fact, probably above average at this point as far as his power is concerned in the leadoff position, having 21 last year and 28 and 21 home runs I'm talking about. So 100 RBIs last year too. Like, this guy can mash. Like, he can play. And he's got a decent glove, which is important obviously for this team. And I think it's a perfect fit. Anybody that thinks, oh, well, what's he going to be like when he's 40? What are we going to do with all this money? Like you said, Al, who cares? Shut up, enjoy it now, because guess what? We may have, who knows, 1, 2, 3 different rings at that point in time, and it'll be worth it.
Do what you need to do to
who are you? LeBron and Wade, not 1, not 2, not 3.
The window is open now, though, Chris. I couldn't agree.
Wide open.
And we had a guy last year at leadoff that hit 46 home runs. And I don't know this, but how many of those do you think were solo home runs? And I get it. You start the game with a lead, but now potentially we start the game with a 2-run lead versus a 1-run lead. And so I saw
a stat. It was one of those next level stats that, like, if Schwarber was batting cleanup in our lineup with the same pop that he generated, he would have had over 136 RBIs.
Yeah.
And instead he had like 97.
Right.
So right there, that tells you all you need to know. You put him in the middle of this order, move Castellanos down, whatever he does. If he's better or not, that doesn't matter. You still could put Schwarber in the cleanup or the 5th or the 5 hole, even wherever you want to do. It still works. And I think the production is going to be there even more so for him. So this is that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it helps not just the Phillies lineup. I think it helps Schwarber.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that it definitely helps him.
Everyone.
And imagine if Harper was Trey Turner this year. Imagine if he was in line to be a free agent after that after that postseason he had. What do you think his contract would be like? He probably would have earned a lot more than what we already commit to him right now.
He would get a bigger contract than Judge is going to get.
Absolutely. So my point in saying that is, when you talk about the money in 10, 12, 13 years from these guys, they're going to be bargains at that point. Bryce Harper's already a bargain.
Right. I think that the point is that you're trying to make is, at age 38, 39, 40, Trea Turner is going to be overpaid for the production you're getting. But in his prime years that we have now, he's going to be underpaid. And that's going to help this team. Right. So that's what you have to remember at the end of the day. I mean, again, Trea Turner on a shorter contract is a $34 to $35 million a year player, and you're getting him at $27 million. And you're just extending the length of that contract to age 38, 39, 40, and you figure that out when it comes.
He's also durable. He's also durable. 160 games this year, 148 the year before that.
Yeah.
59 in the COVID year in 2020 when he only had 60 games that we played. So he's a durable dude also, which is big.
Let me ask you guys my only concern, and I don't mean to crap on the love fest that we have here because I do love the move. Last year, compared to the year before, a 40-point drop in batting average, 40-point drop in on-base percentage, 90-point drop, 100-point drop in slugging percentage. Strikeouts were up, walks about the same, OPS plus down close to 30 points. Any concerns in the decline? As even though he still had a very good year, it was a drop off from the year before.
So he got his Nick Castellanos year out of the way.
I was going to say I'm not. Yeah, I'm not worried.
Man, all the outliers.
Nick just catches strays all over the place, man.
He got him out of the way. I'm not worried at all. He's never played in a hitter's park either, right?
Right. That's absolutely
Washington's not a hitter's park. LA is not a hitter's park. Now he's coming to the bank. He's gonna be hitting a lot of those line drive balls that just sail over the fence at Citizens Bank Ballpark.
Well, yeah, and you said his numbers at the park already as well. He's been raking there since he's been in the league.
Let's quantify that. The pitching that he has faced has not been very good either. The Phillies were running out garbage over that course of the.
Dude, you got to still put the ball in play.
I know. Listen, he's a great player, but the pitching the Phillies were throwing out there, the Jared Eichhoffs and the Vince Velasquez is not exactly a murderer's row of arms there.
It depends when he faced Velasquez. He always had that little.
Oh, come on!
Oh, I think he faced him at his best.
You must have seen that tweet that showed his 16 strikeout game the other day.
No, I actually saw the thing about when he broke his arm, and then he had to throw the first to his left.
I remember that.
So wait, I got another thing though. Is I honestly it feels like a team of destiny because this past season it was like things changed at the perfect time for us as far as the designated hitter moving to the NL and the extra playoff spot. If neither of those changes happened this past season, we don't make the playoffs, obviously. And now looking forward to next season, we're getting rid of the shift, which is huge for our lineup, I think. It can't be understated how big that is for our lineup. And then the other thing is they're increasing the size of the bags. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
They're increasing the size of the bags. Maybe we get a couple more steals from some of these guys because of that. If a guy like Turner can lead off and go from a 20 stolen base a year guy to a 30 stolen base a year guy, I mean that's a big deal too, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's also a bigger.
I don't know if that's going to shorten the bases. You're talking about like for sliding.
Yeah, for sliding, getting to the outside of that bag.
It's the bigger bag that obstacle that Hoskins has to get around and field the ball, though.
Let's not talk about
that.
We Adam just had the negativity. Let's not bring up
dude. That's
so hold on. Before you go any further, Seltzer, I wanted to say too, to your point about the pitching. So Trea Turner's average lifetime against Zach Wheeler, for instance, is 316.
How many ABs?
He wasn't,
How many ABs?
38.
Okay, that's plenty.
He's only hit 178 against Aaron Nola, but I was just looking at a curiosity. Some of the other guys, he's a 370 lifetime hitter with 27 at bats against Sandy Alcantara.
Wow,
that's important.
I mean, that's pretty.
I'd ask you what his average is against Jacob deGrom, but it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, bring up the Scherzer numbers and the Verlander numbers.
239. He also hits 292 against Zach Eflin.
What do you have up? What do you have? A baseball? What webpage?
I'm on this. I found a dope page here.
A lot of info. Yeah. But to Al's point, I wanted to chime in. The Phillies are a team that will run. You saw that in the postseason. Kyle Schwarber stealing bases.
Yeah.
Castellanos, stole probably 12 bases or double digits for sure. Harper runs, and those aren't speed guys. So you put a speed guy in there, and I absolutely think he can get to 30 next year.
Oh yeah. So I expect him. I mean, this might be another show. I don't know, but I'm going to say anyway. I expect him to hit around 295, hit 26 home runs, steal 32 bags.
There you go, Bill James, right there.
Chris guessed
the almanac.
That's what I think he's going to do next year.
I asked you guys to put together a lineup. I sometimes I wish we would disagree more, but I also have. So here would be my projected lineup. This includes Harper. And
Yeah.
let's see how close we are. So I
And
have
this is
Trey Turner.
what you think. This is what you think the Phillies will trot out
No,
there.
no. This is what I would make the lineup.
Oh, I did what I thought Topper would do, but so go ahead. It doesn't matter.
I have Trey Turner 1, Alec Boehm 2, Bryce Harper 3, JT 4, Schwarber 5, Hoskins 6, Castellanos 7, Stott 8, Marsh 9. That would be my lineup.
All right.
Chris, did you put it?
All right, look, I'll just give the one I put. This is what I put, but this is the one I thought Topper was going to put out there.
Okay.
So I have Turner, Schwarber, Bryce Harper, Reese Hoskins hitting cleanup. Then I have JT, Castellanos, Boehm, Stott, and then Marsh or Veerling, whoever is starting that day.
Yep. I mean, look. Go ahead, Chris.
I have Trey leading off, Stott 2, Harper 3, Schwarber 4, JT 5, Hoskins 6, Nick 7th, Boehm 8th, and Marsh 9th. I'm still not sold that.
Why would you go lefty 2-3-4 instead of just flipping Boehm and Stott?
Actually, so I would probably put. I was thinking about the lefty righty situation. I was just saying as far as my trust in the guys and where they should hit, but maybe I'll put Real Muto 4th and have Schwarber 5th then. To mix it up a little bit.
That's fair. I mean, look,
I'm not convinced that Hoskins is going to be on this team next year.
He's going to be on the team, I think.
I'm still not convinced that they wouldn't, if they could trade him for a number 3 or number 4 pitcher. I think they do it, and I think they should do it.
But I think with Bryce being out for half the year, you still need some pop. And I mean, Hoskins at $12 million, as frustrating as he is, and he is extremely streaky and inconsistent, he's still like a value at $12 million. And you're not going to replace that production for that price.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of, especially missing the
power
power early in the season. Like, I think you have to just stick with him.
That lineup that we have, I would not have a problem with putting Derek Hall at first base. I know it's another left-handed batter.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's too many lefties.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this, a fun little exercise. Just tell me who you're taking. Who's the guy, right? So I'm going to go down the lineup. I'm going to do it in mine because I have it written down. And I'm going to put the guy that we have projected for next season against the guy from the 08 team. And this was the 08 team's lineup in Game 5 of the World Series. And just who are you taking?
Okay.
Ready? So you got Turner and J-Roll. Who you got?
You gotta go Rollins.
One word.
You gotta go
Rollins.
Schwarber or Worth?
Jason Worth. Come on, are you serious?
You talking about for a series
just take
or
a
over
guy.
the whole
just
season?
Take a guy.
Who's the better baseball player?
I still might take Schwarber in that.
Harper or Utley?
Oh,
what do you?
Saint Utley is going to be
Bryce
main event.
Bryce Harper, it's not close.
Yeah, it's not close. You're right.
You got Harper also, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay. Hoskins or Howard?
That's
Howard.
also not close.
That's
Howard.
easy. Real Muto or Burrell?
Real Muto.
JT.
Castellanos or Victorino?
Victorino.
Boehm or Phillies?
Ooh.
Boom. And you could also put a guy named Victor Eno, and I would still pick him over Castellanos.
Give me Phillies.
Wow.
Look. Alec Boehm will be a better player, but pull up the numbers. I mean, I don't think they're that different. And Phillies was a Gold Glove player, like defensive.
Right. So Phillies hit 249, 302 on base, 14 homers, 58 ribbies.
And what did
Listen, I don't forget them days of being like, Phillies sucks. He never hits. I don't forget those days.
Look,
now, you never talk about
agree.
his field.
Boehm's a better hitter, but I'm talking defense too.
Yeah, his glove was great. I give him that. But there were plenty of games where we would be like, Phillies is trash. He never hits a hit in a big spot. So
I'll change my pick. Boehm projects even more this year to hit for more power. Give me Boehm. I'll change my pick.
We hated Phillies.
That's what I'm saying. Like Phillies was not a beloved player. Let's not kid ourselves.
Stott or Chooch?
Chooch. I love Stott, but Chooch is one of the most underrated players in that era. I mean, I sent you, Al. I sent you, tweeted you, or texted you like a 4-year window of him and JT, the stats were eerily close.
Yeah, yeah. Ruiz had a bad year from the plate that year, 219 batting average.
Yeah, but the year
It's still not. It's still not close.
09 to 12, he was
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's still not close. And then Marsh and then I had to put somebody because it's a pitcher for the Phillies. So Marsh or Jeff Jenkins, who was the next
Marsh.
highest at bats.
Marsh.
You said Marsh or Jenkins, you said?
Yeah.
Marsh. Even
Jenkins
though
sucked for
Seltzer
us.
hates Marsh, but
No, I don't hate Marsh.
you guys were hating on the big time when I was gassing him up, and you guys were like, "Oh, Marsh in the ninth spot."
Well, he couldn't catch a fastball in the playoffs, but he's
hit.
still better than Jeff Jenkins. Although Jenkins had the big knock, dude.
He did have the big knock.
Yes, he did.
That's all that matters.
Yep.
He went ballistic, but it's an interesting.
And Jenkins was a nice player in his career. He was a nice player. He got him at the tail end of his career, but he was a nice player.
In Milwaukee, he had some really nice years.
Yeah,
he was great in Milwaukee. He was great. No, but I just thought that would be interesting, and I think it's a lot closer if you try to match them up by actual, talent level.
Going Schwarber over Worth is insane.
Why?
You don't realize you're not giving Worth his just due. Worth was fantastic.
What was Schwarber? Kevin Stocker this year? What do you mean?
No, but also again factoring in defense as well. Worth is almost a Gold Glove type outfielder.
Almost, but he had times where he looked a little shaky in the field in those
Worth
days.
Was a platoon guy.
Are we not remembering that?
Would say it again?
Are we not remembering those times when he sometimes did look shaky in the outfield at times, especially in the beginning when we first got him?
He was fine in the outfield compared to Kyle Schwarber.
All right, but top to bottom, I don't think that's egregious to say Kyle Schwarber over Jason Worth.
I think it's egregious.
They're very different players.
Very different players.
Very different. So Worth it that season 273, 363 on base, 24 home runs, 67 ribbies, where Schwarber goes 218 average. That's 323 on base. He had the 46 home runs and then 94 ribbies. So
sorry for the interruption there. We had a little canine escapade in the Seltzer household, but
Adam, you can't say interruption because when you edit this out, there's no interruption.
Problem is I have to go to work tomorrow, so I'm not editing it out. You're gonna hear everything that happened live. It's just gonna be a full-fledged, non-edited episode. So you will.
Hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's uncut, dude.
Uncut, raw and uncut.
Here was the segue. So we just talked about the Phillies in 2008. Maybe we wish that we could go back to 2008 to that Sixers team because the product in the court in 2022 isn't quite up to snuff.
Are we going to the Sixers now? I didn't even get to
Adam, take it away. Chris, somebody go ahead and jump in there.
I wasn't ready for the Sixers talk. Are we just jumping on? Let's wrap the Phillies. Let's wrap the Phillies before we get to the Sixers.
All right. Better edit all this out then.
That's from the
shock and awe. A lot of shocking stuff going tonight. But I do want to touch on some of the additional weaknesses, areas that they need to address before the offseason. We did lose 2 starting pitchers this week. Zach Eflin signs the largest free agent contract in Tampa Bay Rays history at 3 years and $40 million. Hats off to him.
For him.
Kyle Gibson, 1 year, $10 million to Baltimore. To me, the rest of the offseason needs to be addressed as just pitching. We need a starting pitcher. I don't think they need to get a horse at this point in time. I think they might be better off trying to find, I don't want to say a Gibson because that's kind of, I like a step up from that, but I think that could be an area they can address at the trade deadline if they need to. After they see what they're getting from Andrew Painter or Mick Abel, you have the ability to assess and then readjust as needed. So right now you're looking at a rotation of Wheeler, Nola, Suarez. Bailey Falter probably has the inside track, although he's probably not guaranteed a starting job. And you have one spot that's pretty much open for business, whether it's Painter or whether they bring in a veteran, which they probably should at this point. And they need to address the bullpen because even though they weren't great arms, you lose Brad Hand, you lose David Robertson, you lose Corey Knebel. You're losing veterans and innings there. So that's where, in my opinion, the rest of the offseason needs to be focused on. What are your guys' thoughts on any of the pitching needs and the Eflin and Gibson departures?
I think it's obvious that either one or both of the young studs are going to be on the roster come opening day, talking about Painter and/or Abel. Because as far as the market, I mean, obviously all the big names are off except for Rodon. And did you see his wife liked on Twitter the news of Trey Turner signing with the Phillies?
Mm-hmm.
I
No,
mean, let's not look too much into that. But I think the only thing that we would possibly get at this point is like a Sean Manea, Michael Waka Waka
waka,
kind of
waka,
guy at this
waka.
point. Which do you really want to spend the money? I mean, at that point, just let's go with Falter and let's go with either Painter and Abel and see what happens.
I've heard a lot of Jamison Tyon.
Yeah, I have too, and I'm okay with that. Have you heard about the years for that? Is that like a 1 year thing, or
I was reading Tyon maybe like 3 years, 40 million, something along those lines.
I might? He's got a little bit of an injury past though, but I don't know if I would. He's got a high upside though. When he's on, he's really good.
Former
Yeah.
number 2 overall pick.
Yeah, I would probably. I don't know if I'd commit to 3 years for him. I would probably do. Is there maybe option years in there somewhere if you're going to do that? But like I said, I still think there's trade value with some people, some pieces we have to get that better pitcher for the rotation than to rely upon Bailey Falter or uh, some stopgap guy in the organization before we get to Painter or Abel.
Bailey was fine last year in the regular season. He actually pitched well down a stretch.
I think he did, but I still don't trust him for a full season to be in the rotation. I don't trust that.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's a 4 or 5, so you kind of get what you get when with those guys. Some days they're going to be on, some days they're going to be off. I kind of wish they would have paid Eflin, to be honest with you. I mean, 3 for 40 was too much. I don't think he could have gone there, but I wouldn't have mind if they could get him for like 12 or 11 or 12 million. I always get worried when Tampa Bay signs players because they know what they're doing down there.
Yeah.
They have great scouting. But to answer your question, ultimately, resources need to be put in right now, free agent wise, on the bullpen. We lost a lot of arms in the bullpen, whether they were good or not. And right now, I'm thinking we got Dominguez, we have Alvarado, we have Velotti, we have Brogdon, and then what else? Is Coonrod back? The Mr. Mysterio. We never know if he's going to be playing or not.
I'm sure he'll be I'm sure he'll be there.
So, and I think he's got big upside too, but he just hasn't been reliable on the field as much this past year as far as his availability is concerned. But I still think we need to get maybe like 2 more high-end bullpen arms, in my opinion, to make me fully
on board.
Feel like we're in a better position. I mean, we don't have that. Not that a lot of teams do. We don't have a guy like, what was that kid's name on the Padres? The Padres bullpen was that's the kind of bullpen that I look to emulate, honestly.
Suarez and Martinez
yeah, and that was a career year for Martinez, I believe, but he brought it last year. And then Suarez probably his year into a contract, so good for him. But that's the kind of stuff that we need to get in our bullpen. We're close to it. We're close. It just wasn't top to bottom as good as theirs was and other teams in the league, but it's getting there. I think we're like 1 or 2 pieces away.
It's just very difficult to project relievers. Like, you feel like some years they're great, and then the next year they stink. I mean, Brad Lidge 08-09 is probably case in point.
Very, very volatile. I don't mind leaving the that problem until later on in the season once we see what develops around the league and possibly then making a trade. I don't know what our farm system looks like as far as what's available pieces to trade, but I wouldn't mind trying to do that around the trade deadline. Take care of that.
I mean, they still need to bring in some guys for now because they lost 3. But again, if you don't have a high leverage guy that's available, you still need inning eaters at this point.
What's I'm saying, and you have guys that could do that in the minor leagues. Like you got McGarry, you got Morales, you got even Chris Sanchez. If you wanted to have an inning eater, a long relief guy, he could be an option for you. But I still think to just be like one of the premier elite teams, top to bottom. I mean, our offense can be right there with anybody, but as far as pitching is concerned, I think we need like 1 or 2 more bullpen arms, like strong arms.
We do.
No doubt. But listen, it's going to be an exciting season. And it's going to be good because everybody is still hype and our best players out until maybe the All-Star break.
It's off season, so we're not really thinking that much about that, but we're going to be thinking a lot more about that in April and May.
Absolutely. I mean, the guy is. They were lucky enough to stay hot when he was out last year. It's going to be tougher to do it this year, although we hope that Trea Turner can just kind of pick up the slack and carry the load until then, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, hopefully we're not thinking about it. We got better. I mean, we're better. Everybody on the team has one more year of experience. Castellanos can't be as bad as he was last year, and we're adding Trea Turner.
I hope you're right.
Happy trails, Gene Segura. Thank you for everything. But
yeah, no, he
don't
did
think
his
we're
thing.
Shouldn't miss him too much. That's the plan, at least over what happened yesterday.
Yeah.
So before jumping into segment 2, again, I mentioned curveballs and things changing at an instance. There was no plan for Sixers talk tonight, but after last night, there was some text going through, and we wanted to have at least a quick vent session. So we'll call this segment 1A. I'm going to throw it to you guys. I don't want to get fired up. I really don't. But go ahead and get the ball rolling, and I'll see where it goes. Who wants to start off with this?
Listen,
I'm furious at a lot of different things.
This
I'm
could go
on the court, off the court. Al, you want to start?
Yeah. All right. Let's go one by one, and let's start with. We want to go by player because I have.
No, because I got a whole scope of crap.
All right. Let me go through my list.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's start with Joel, the process Embiid, a guy who has been my favorite basketball player for the last 7 years, however long he's been on the court for the Sixers, drafted 8 years ago. I'm sick of him. I'm sick of his MO. He slows the game down. He dribbles. He settles for pull-up jumpers when he's the tallest guy and the most athletic guy on the court, when he can get to the paint and get to the rack in 2 steps. He flops down the lane. He's gotten so obsessed with trying to draw fouls that's all he does on offense anymore, when he's so talented that he can do so many other things. I'm sick of the incessant whining, throwing his arms up, jaw open, slapping his thighs, putting his hands on his hips all the time. I'm sick of it. He sets a bad example for his teammates, and it's just something that it seems like it's like his fallback. He just goes into that constant moping attitude. He's attempting 12 free throws a game, and it's a career high for him. But again, I think that's more because he's starting to become obsessed with just getting to the line, and that's how he's getting his points. He has a career high 4.1 turnovers a game. This is our 7th year with Embiid on the roster. Okay, we've gone through 24 guys now at this point trying to build teams around Joel Embiid. Okay, we've gone through Ben Simmons, Jahlil Okafor, Andre Drummond, Al Horford, Seth Curry, Jimmy Butler, JJ Redick, and a ton of other names. We've let guys walk. We had guys that couldn't really get on the floor because of him that now are going on to other teams and they're playing better than they did on the Sixers. Okay. Joel Embiid is the girl that we knew in high school that had a ton of boyfriends in high school. And then she had a ton of boyfriends in college. And then she had a ton of boyfriends after college, but she never got married. And all she did was complain and mope to her friends about how she can't find a good man. A good man is so hard to find. But at some point, it's not the men. It's not the fish in the sea. It's you. And it's you, Joel. You have to be the one to change because we're not winning with you. We're not even making it to the Eastern Conference Finals with you. So this organization has a problem in the sense that it is built around a guy that's a loser. And I hope he proves me wrong, but I would bet a lot of money that he's not going to do it. Okay. And part of that is because of the guy we brought in this year, James Harden. And I'll be quick here. He's another guy that slows everything down. He dribbles. He blew that game for us against Houston because he was trying to be the hero and win in the town that he used to play in. He turns over the ball. He takes bad shots. They play keep away from Tobias Harris, who was having a great game, made 6 threes through 3 quarters, goes on to take 1 shot in the 4th, 1 shot in overtime, 2 shots in double overtime because James Harden wants to dribble the ball and he wants to shoot the ball and play hero ball. I'm sick of the both of them. They don't mesh well. They don't play well together. And we got to do something before we drive more guys out of town like Tyrese Maxey.
All right, Chris, I just want to jump in quickly. I agree with a lot of what you said. I think it was a few episodes ago where I said I had come to the realization this team will not win a championship with Joel Embiid as the best player. I fully stand by that statement. I look at the Sixers a lot like I look at the Boston Celtics at this point in the year last year, where they were having a ton of problems. And the Sixers, I think, went into Boston. If it wasn't, I'm pretty sure the game was in Boston. And Joel, after the game, said they're easy to defend because all they run is isolation and it's all one-on-one. And you can just jump up on that side. And the Boston Celtics made a change in their philosophy and became a pass motion first team. And if you watch them play basketball, I hate the Celtics more than any other team in the entire league. They watch them play. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing to watch because there's ball movement. They pass, the ball pops. And if the Sixers could look at that and be like, this is what we need to be a championship team. The problem is exactly what you said. The players that we have don't have the ability to do that. Joel Embiid will never be a guy who gets the ball thrown to him and can make a quick decision at that point and kick it here or kick it there. I thought last night, of all the players the Sixers have brought in, how many players has Joel Embiid actually made better? Right. And I thought of two. And they were the two guys, and they're actually very, very similar players. Who would you say were the two players that he made better?
I was going to say Seth Curry is one of them.
Seth Curry's one, and JJ Redick's the other one.
Okay, and I was going to say Georgia Niang.
Yeah, maybe Niang, but he's really just, I wouldn't even say Niang was the same kind of player.
Just off the top of my head, getting that question, I would have said those.
It's just, again, I don't want to sound like I did in the Phillies podcast in September. Losers is the right word. We used it over and over again. But I just don't see it. I don't see it.
I don't see it either.
Go ahead, Chris.
All right. Floor's yours, Chris.
This is total transparency, total errand, like just putting myself out there at this point because I love this city. I love this organization. I love this team. And I always have. Seltzer, you mentioned before how the Sixers are your number one team. They're mine too. And I always say that the sum of its parts is greater than any individual player. Having said that, I went through, just like all of us, and I watched those process years. And I watched those games when we went 10-72 when we were sitting there. We lost 26 games in a row over the span of 2 seasons. And we had got... Hold on, I don't know what's going on. Something just happened.
Every week.
It's like insane.
Every week. And you were in the midst of a good monologue, dude.
I know.
Yeah. I can't cut that clip now, Chris. That's it.
I don't know where it's coming from. I got all these apps open. I don't know which one it is. All right. Anyway, I watched those teams over all those years. All right. Hold on.
Yo, Doc hacked
Talk
in
amongst yourselves.
Yeah. Doc hacked in.
Yeah, Doc. Doc knew what was coming next. Are we good?
How many
you look
tabs
shell
do I
shocked.
open?
You look shell shocked. Just close everything that's not Zoom. While he's doing that, I know he's going to. Daryl Morey deserves some heat.
Absolutely.
Like we're at the point where it's like all Doc, and he deserves some of it. Dude, Daryl Morey's put together a horrible team.
He brought in his band of losers, man. There's
all
losers all over the floor. I'm going to listen, PJ Tucker, I'm hard on him. I was hard on him last week. I'm going to continue to do it. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't score.
Nothing.
He doesn't rebound. He got in the way on defense last night more than anything else on the baseline and in the paint. I mean, this is like, and just to talk about Doc, to pile on Doc while you brought his name up. James Harden plays 40 plus minutes last night when we're supposedly trying to bring him back, ease him back after his injury. He shot 4 of 19.
It was double overtime though. Like,
I don't care. He had 7 turnovers. Like there's a proven backup in Shake Milton that could have gotten 30, 35 minutes last night and done a hell of a lot better than James Harden did.
That was never going to happen.
Well, why not? That's part of the problem. Like that shouldn't never happen.
I knew I said, I'm an NBA junkie. I actually go through on days when I work from home. I'll go through all the close games the night before, and I watch the fourth quarter, actually. So the Rockets beat the Suns probably, I think it was Saturday night, and I watched that game Sunday morning, like I said, just the fourth quarter. And I heard a stat that they were like, the Rockets are the #1 offensive rebounding team in the NBA. I knew at that point we were fucked. Like we weren't winning that game. We can't rebound.
Yeah. I was just gonna bring that up too, is that they're a great offensive rebounding team. And our game plan for that was trash. We didn't have one. We got out rebounded, I think it was by like 12 boards. And we're a bad rebounding team as it is.
We're one of the worst. I think we're 28th or 29th in
We're
rebound.
29th in the league in rebound.
And Joel can't get a contested rebound. He can't.
Dude, and I know that this is old school and it doesn't happen in the NBA because the guys are so athletic, but stick your ass in the dude's gut and box out once in a while, man. It doesn't take much. Like, especially in crunch time. I get if you're not going to do it in the first quarter, the second quarter. When it's the fourth quarter, the game's on the line, man, find a guy and stick your butt out. Like, do something. Play with some heart. Like, I don't know. The teams, they play uninspired, sloppy basketball, and it's hard to watch, even though it's only the first quarter of the season.
All right, guy, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? After all this crap, I closed all my apps, so I don't care. I'm even more pissed off now because they're sabotaging my screen and not letting me talk about them because I'm pissed off about it. Listen, I watched those teams when they were 10-72. I watched those teams when they had 56 guys coming in and out of that team, and Brett would say, I had to have a meeting with each one of these guys by 5 o'clock before tip-off because I didn't know who the hell they were. All right? I watched all those teams. We all did. And guess what? Those teams were more fun than these guys are. Because you know what the difference is? Those guys had heart. They wanted to win. They wanted jobs. They wanted a career. They had everything to lose, and they played their ass off, and I respect them for that. This team now is not the same Sixers that we know and love because most of them aren't Sixers. That's the bottom line. We have guys like James Harden. We have guys like Daniel House. We have guys like D'Anthony Melton, who is a good player, but he's still, he's not a homegrown kind of guy that we've had over the years. And Watson, we've got PJ Tucker, George Niang. These guys are mercenaries right now. They're guys they're hired arms or traded arms to fit with what our GM, and you can call him the president of operations, whatever you want to call him. He's the GM. I don't know what Elton's doing right now at all, to be honest with you. But I think that's a huge problem. I think also a huge problem is when I come back to my room last night and I see this chain that we have, and I listen to this conversation right now, and as bad as this team is, and as boring as this team is, we're going to sit there and we're going to blame Joel Embiid, the best guy on the team, who's having a career season, mind you. He's having a career season. He was the highest plus minus last night. He had 39 points. I'm going to top of my head now because all my stuff is gone because I don't know where the hell that music's coming from. So he had 39 points. What do he have? Like 8 or some odd rebounds. He had a plus 10 or plus 8 plus minus rating, which was the highest last night. And if you go and you look at his stats for the year, averaging 32, 10, 2 blocks,
career low in
5
rebounds.
assists,
You can say what you want. Career high in
assists, mind
career
you.
low career low in rebounds, career high in turnovers. Just so you know.
Okay, he's also got a career high in assists. So he's trying to share the ball, and he's scoring more than he was. He's also having a career high in field goal percentage. He's also having a career high in free throws made and attempted, to Al's point, but he's also having, what's he at? What's his free throw percentage? 84%. Okay. So all that being said, instead of blaming the guy who's the zebra on the team, meaning the guy who we knew his stripes and he hasn't changed them since he's gotten here, we're going to blame Joel Embiid. Blame the guy that went 4 for 19 last night. Blame the guy who every time he's on the court is playing 1-on-5 until he decides to pass the ball. This guy and his style of play, Seltzer, we talked about it for years now. His style of play sucks. It is literally him versus the world. He dribbles until it's 5-6 seconds on the clock. He decides to make a decision to either shoot up a shot that's probably a crazy step back shot that he probably won't make, or find somebody and then they're in a hurried shot because the clock's already running down. That's the guy to blame. Blame the situation on the coach who doesn't know his elbow from his ass every single game and doesn't know how to make adjustments and is notorious now, not only with our fan base, but multiple fan bases he's been in and players in the league that have played for him. Okay, the story's the same. Blame a bench who can't score to save their lives. They can't score out of a wet paper bag, these guys. Blame a guy like PJ Tucker, who can't even make. I thought we were going to have off school today, Al, because PJ made a 3-pointer last night. I thought they were going to have a holiday for it. Okay? Blame PJ Tucker and him stealing $11 million to blame DeAnthony Melton last night for scoring 30 or playing 38 minutes and having 9 points. Okay? Those are the guys we should be blaming. Why are we blaming a guy who's a cornerstone
who turned it over twice in the last minute of overtime?
I'm sorry?
Who turned the ball over twice in the last minute of overtime?
Harden had 7 turnovers.
Who turned it over twice in the last minute of overtime?
Okay, and Embiid had 5 turnovers for the game. He had 2 turnovers at the end of the game. I understand that. But he still had 39 points, and he still has the best plus-minus on the court, meaning he's on the court when we're doing well.
Joel, listen, Joel is going to fill the box score up always. He is so talented, like he's always going to do that. But let me say this: if you want to hit your wagons to him, he's always going to let you down when it matters. And I'm not talking about regular season game in January. I'm talking about playoff time. You cannot win with him as your best player because it's so easy to game plan for. And until he's willing,
is that his fault? Wait a minute, hold on. Let me
is that his fault? No, but it's just a fact. It's a fact.
Let me ask you this: in today's NBA, who runs the show? Swingmen, guards, and forwards?
Yes.
Or centers?
Swingmen.
Okay, so. Again, how is that his fault that he's doing his job, but he's not in a position to be the leader on a normal team, a title team in this day and age? Whose fault is that really? Is it his fault or is it the development and the construction of the team he's on?
Yeah, absolutely. But it doesn't matter. The only way you're going to win a championship with Joel Embiid is for him to accept a lesser role on offense, and they haven't put him in that situation. So until he's in that situation where they have another player who can run the show and take the lead, which they hoped was James Harden and clearly is not, then you're not going to win.
Chris, you just said it. You just said it. It's a guards and wings league, and we're trying to win with a guy who's a center. And instead of trying to put the right pieces around him and find that guard or wing and develop that guard or wing, like we should have done with maybe a Jimmy Butler, we tried to make Joel Embiid a wing. And it's not working. It's not. It's like you got to look
again. That's construction of the team.
I know. And look, Joel Embiid is one of the top 5 most talented players in the world on planet Earth. But it doesn't matter when basketball is a team game. You can't just rely on your center in this day and age in the NBA. It doesn't work like that. It's not Shaquille O'Neal.
And let me tell you this: find me another team, another championship level team whose best player has an attitude like Joel Embiid, where some nights he looks like he doesn't even want to be on the basketball court.
Guess what? And he still gives you 30 and 10.
It doesn't matter. He's still
losing effort. In a losing effort.
Right? So, they lost.
So you're going to blame you're going to blame the flow of the game on offense and the chemistry of the team offensively on the center.
No, but because he's the best player on the team, we're hamstrung on the things we can do. And now that we have James Harden, possibly the slowest guard in the NBA, we're hamstrung. We play at one of the slowest paces in the league, and it's a detriment to us, and it's a detriment to the team because this is a game now where everything is up tempo. Harden actually plays better in transition. He makes great passes that no one else on the team can make in transition. But at the half court offense, everything grinds to a halt and we don't move the ball and we dribble. And like you said, wait until 3 seconds left on the shot clock and hoist up a shot and hope it goes in. It's just the way the team is built. We're hamstrung.
But isn't that Harden's fault? How's that Embiid's fault that's the way our offense?
It's the team. But Embiid is part of that. He also can't run up and down the court and be the man if we start playing fast. We have to play into his the things that he does well.
I'm not knocking Embiid's talent. Like he's a bucket. Like you throw him the ball and he's going to score. The problem is you can't win like that in this NBA, so we're stuck.
Right.
And because of that, I'm also pissed off because we're now in a position as Sixers fans and loyalists to be put in a box and frustrated with this team the way it's constructed to the point where the only way to get out is to get rid of him.
He won't be on this team. I tweeted last week and I got laughed at on Twitter. I don't think he's on this team by this point next year.
That's the only way to get better is because we have now put ourselves in a situation where we can't win with him because we have to get rid of him to get a roster. That's where we're at.
It's been 7 years. He's not going to get better from here, right? Do you think his best years are ahead of him?
But we're in his prime.
You know what?
He's still got good years left. He's got good years left.
Yeah, I think he's still got 2 or 3 prime years left.
Yeah,
but
no doubt.
Even still, let's go back in history. The guys who were supposed to be the guys, the dogs in a good way with him. Who were they? Ben Simmons.
No,
trash.
Listen, I'm going to jump in.
Trash.
Yeah,
Jimmy,
absolutely.
Left.
The biggest mistake this organization made in this whole thing, and there was 50 mistakes, was Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler was the guy to be on this team, a guy who could, in the playoffs, take over a game. And that's what we're talking about. We need that wing. And he could defend across different levels. He could switch. And they screwed up by letting him go. And you could say that, he wanted to leave. But they picked Ben Simmons and Brett Brown over Jimmy Butler. And that's where it turned.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This organization off the court is even more at fault than anybody on the court.
For sure.
Daryl Morey needs to be on the hot seat more than anybody, just as much as Doc Rivers, in my opinion. This team is constructed not only so poorly, but they're such a group. They're not even a Philly kind of group. Like, they don't even connect to this city. If you watch these games now, I feel like I'm at jury duty sitting there waiting to be called when I'm watching these games. I'm there because I have to be. That's how I feel when I watch the Sixers. They're the Sixers. They're on. I got to watch them. But in reality, there's like 10 more things that I'd rather do right now than watch the Sixers because of what that team looks like on the court. And it pisses me off beyond words. And it hurts me because that's my team. That's my city. I paid money, still pay money every month to that organization for my seats. And now I'm at the point where not only do I think we have to get rid of the best player we probably ever had skill-wise, but I'm in the point where I don't even know if I want my seats next year. And I've said before, when Ben Simmons had his situation, I said, I'm not going to a game until they get rid of Ben. And I didn't. I did not go to a game until he was off the court. And I'm prepared to do the same thing right now with just getting rid of all of it because I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel with this group right now. The only one I root for is Joel and Tyrese Maxey. Everybody else can go as far as I'm concerned. And that's a problem.
Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, and a first-round pick for Joel Embiid in the offseason. If Sixers flame out and lose the first round.
We can do better than that. You can get a king's ransom for Joel right now. And that's another thing, too, is if we're going to have that conversation where we have to get rid of him at some point, the sooner the better for a lot of reasons.
Sure.
Mainly for your value you're getting back. This guy was the runner-up for MVP 2 years in a row. And like I said, he's having a career year in a lot of categories this year so far. This is the time, this year, to have that conversation as a front office. If you guys want to save your job, they're lucky I ain't the owner. I'll tell you right now, because if I was the owner, that boardroom would be hot.
You didn't comment on, I mentioned Joel's leadership and his attitude.
He's a grown-ass man. That matters?
Man. Huh?
He's a grown man. They shouldn't be relying upon one other individual to get them up for playing in the game. They just shouldn't.
But shouldn't your best player not look disinterested in a third of the basketball games that you play?
He's probably looking disinterested because this team sucks.
It doesn't matter. He's the best player on the team.
And he doesn't even know these guys are randos that they put together that Daryl was boys with in Houston. These aren't his guys.
Chris, he air mails a pass over Melton's head last night in overtime and throws his hands up.
Terrible passes. I'm not that's
that's all the time, dude. He does it all the time, man. He acts like he's on the court. He acts like he's so much better than his teammates. He shows them
because
up.
He is.
No, but he shows them up by doing that, dude. Come on.
Absolutely.
He shows them up. Nobody wants to play with a guy like that.
He used to play. He used to play, and again, I understand the frustration. He used to play with so much joy and happiness when he first came into the league.
Because he had guys that he genuinely liked playing with. He doesn't like playing with these guys. Durant doesn't like playing with those guys that he has. He does the same thing. No one talks about that. People
do talk about that.
Talks against him in the media.
People do talk about that.
He openly talks about them in the media. Embiid don't do that. I don't know how. My thing is that body language to me shows that I think that he's a guy, like you said, Seltzer, when he was playing with Dario and Covington and McConnell and all those guys that were and JJ, we knew the ceiling there, but they had fun at least. And because they had fun, we had fun. We grew to love that group. Sure. These guys, we can't love this group. They have no energy together. There's no chemistry on the court. You don't see, they like playing with each other. I agree.
But a lot of that stems from the top. A lot
I
of that
can't
stems
blame
from
Joel
top.
Embiid individually for that. Without Joel Embiid, we would have lost by 25 last night.
And that's like, I understand that. I'm not saying you're wrong.
At some point, though, at some point in the early 00s, it was Iverson's fault. Right? We couldn't build a winner around him.
Different. That was different. He had the keys to the team. He was the point guard. He controlled the team. That's a whole different scenario, in my opinion.
I don't agree with that.
As a center,
at some point, if you're the man on the team, you got to nut up and you got to be the man, and you got to be the man that leads the team to a title.
But Iverson ran the offense, and B doesn't run the offense.
He might as well. He touches the ball more than anybody else.
Stop. He gets the
We've
ball.
got a guy that's all. We got a top 75 player running our offense right now.
Yeah, but for the last 7 years, it's been Embiid. It's still Embiid.
Last night was the first game Harden's been back in 12 games. Like it wasn't.
So he stunk.
Yeah, he was horrible last night. But still,
and how many times are we going to?
What happened against Cleveland? What happened against Cleveland? What happened to the game before that?
How many times are we going to sit here and say, "Well, he must be hurt," or "Well, there must be this or there must be that"? The guy might be what he is at this point.
He is.
And I think it's time to admit that. I think it's time to admit we gave the keys to this team to a guy who wanted to have rejuvenation with an old franchise that he used to work with, brought them all back as a reunion tour, and they didn't win then, and they're not going to win now. And they're all older.
They took a chance with Harden, and I think we were all on board when the trade was made because it was worth the risk of getting rid of Ben, and it didn't pay off. It was a mistake.
I drank the Kool-Aid. You drank it. We all drank it. But here's the thing. I'm ready to admit that, like, I was wrong with that desire to get this guy, because all the time we talked about how his game sucks. We hate watching the Rockets because he scores 40, 50 points a game, but everybody else has 6 or 7 because they don't get the ball and the whole thing. And then he comes here and we just hope. You talk about girls, Al. It's the same situation as, like, if you had a girlfriend and she has a reputation for cheating and you get with her and you're like, well, she'll be different this time. She ain't, because she's out somewhere boning somebody else, just like you thought she would be. Zebras don't change their stripes, all right? And that's what this guy's doing. Not changing his stripes. We're not any better. Rockets weren't any better, and we're not going to win as this team is constructed. I do not and cannot blame Joel Embiid for that. I still think Joel Embiid is a championship caliber player. I know that he looks what he looks like sometimes on the court. I understand that. But we also talk about the fact that as he's gotten older, sometimes he's going to need to take plays off to be able to be fresh and healthy for later on in the season. All right.
Point blank, yes or no? Does Joel Embiid win a title before his career ends? Not just in Philadelphia or not?
Not as the best player.
I mean, because I think he can. I'll say yes. He's too good to not win a title.
In Philadelphia?
No,
you didn't say that.
But now I'm saying in Philadelphia as my follow-up. Philadelphia. Well, then we got to move on. What are we doing here, right?
That's what I'm saying. We're at that point now. But it's not because the reason I'm saying no is because we can't, the way our team is constructed, it always goes back to that. We can't build the right way now at this point. We're in deep with the wrong cats. We can't, we got to get, we don't have a choice.
It's going to break my heart when they trade him.
Me too.
But there's no other way at this point.
They did it to themselves. And look, at the end of the day, we didn't bring this up. Chris started to talk about the ownership a little bit. We're owned by a billionaire who owns 2 sports franchises. And guess which team in the NBA has the second highest attendance rate? It's the Sixers. They're making money. That's all this is about. James Harden was to put butts in seats. That's all
I don't know about that.
Dude, come on, man. You really thought that we're going to bring in this old ass, this fat guy, and he's going to change his ways? They told us that he's all of a sudden going to change and adapt and be this different guy.
We just said it.
He was right. He wasn't going to change.
We already were a top 4, top 3 team in attendance before we got Harden.
But this maintains it. This maintains that status.
For how long though? We're just talking now about how bad they are. It maintained it for half a season.
Listen,
they're still making money.
It's only 24 games in. They could go out here and win 10 in a row, and then we'll talk about the Sixers are great. They look great. Like, who knows?
They're not.
But we've all watched this movie before.
They're not a championship team.
We've all watched this movie before, and we all know how it's going to end. We'll have some highs. We'll have lows. When Maxey comes back, he'll look great. The team will win some games. They got 7 games, I think, in a row at home. They're not even winning at home anymore. Like, remember it was 2 years ago, we were like 37-4 at home. We can't even win at home anymore.
It's just,
and as far as I'm concerned, too, a big part of the failures on the court, beyond anything, is still Rivers. I still believe I still think that his lack of ability to be a competent championship caliber coach is going to kill us in the long run. Also, I think that's a big deal.
Yeah,
I think that's a big
He's
deal.
a horrible hire, and the fact that they haven't gotten rid of him already is inexcusable.
So real quick, in a 7-game series, who do you got? Sixers or Celtics?
Stop. It's not even close.
Oh my
God. Listen, obviously,
over in threes.
Obviously, you got the Celtics. Who do you got? Sixers or Bucks?
Bucks.
Sixers or Cavs?
Cavs.
I still don't know about that one because of the experience factor. I don't know.
Sixers or Hawks?
Sixers.
I would probably say Sixers too.
Sixers or Pacers?
Sixers.
Sixers or Nets?
Nets.
Right now, Sixers.
Sixers or Raptors?
Sixers. Same.
I was scared of that series last year, so I'll still say it scares me now because of their length and defense prowess. I guess if not much has changed, I'll say Sixers still technically, I guess, but it'd be close.
Sixers or Heat?
Sixers.
Yeah, I don't like the Heat this year at all.
Sixers or Wizards?
Stop.
Sixers.
We're getting too far down the list.
No, that's all 10. That's the 10 that are in right now.
Yeah, Sixers.
Okay, so you got them beating 6 or 7 of the teams. So we're in the second tier in the East.
Yeah, it's
I'd rather at least the Pacers are fun to watch. The Sixers are not fun to watch.
Expectation has a lot to do with that too, though. We're in year 4 of being what should have been at the start of the season a champion contender, and we've already wet ourselves and we've shown our true colors that we're not.
It's more about style. It's just horrible basketball to watch.
That's what yeah, exactly. I think the style, I think construction, coaching, it's just not fun anymore, and it starts from the top. In my opinion, it starts from the top down, management, coaching. Then we could talk about who's running the team on the court.
So much for being segment 1A. It turned into its own segment in itself.
And I want to already apologize to the folks listening and take back what I said before about. I mean, I sat up here and I had the Sixers winning the East as a 1 seed a few weeks ago when we had that conversation, or months ago at this point.
Raise your hand.
I'm so out on them right now. I can't even. I'm ashamed. I'm embarrassed that I said that. I honestly am embarrassed that I had blinders on to think that would be realistic with the makeup that this team has. This team is not built.
And what's more painful about all of it is the Celtics are so good.
So good.
And they're
the right way.
And they have such likable players that it's it hurts. It hurts my soul.
They did it without tanking.
And this also people don't even talk about it as much as they probably should. Unfortunately, process fans like myself are now eating the crow because the haters would say, well, you could still win the right way. And we would always say, no, you can't in the NBA, the way it's structured. You have to lose in order to get those picks to get better. We did that and we still messed up. And we still don't have anything.
That's because we just made bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. We still put ourselves in a position to make those right calls. What was the bad decisions in those drafts? If you could go back, besides in retrospect,
I think that was stupid.
Who?
Besides the Okafor pick, I think that was dumb.
Well, in retrospect, they were bad picks. I'm not saying they were bad picks in the moment. They just turned out bad.
That's my point, though. If we could do it all over again, that would be the same picks that we'd make again, except for Okafor. Fultz was a consensus number 1 pick in the draft all that year.
I don't think we would. I think we all would agree we would have kept Mikal Bridges instead of trading him for Zaire.
I'm talking about the process picks, like the number 1s, number 2s.
Those but I still count that because that pick was acquired during the process.
True. I mean, well, yeah, I would agree that we would want Bridges over.
A player like Mikal Bridges is the kind of wing that you need. And again, I think he's a little overrated, but that's the kind of player this team doesn't have.
Listen, but I said it before. This organization doesn't try to develop talent. They just don't. So instead of trying to develop talent around guys that we had already had prior to the process when we were kind of stuck in that 7-8 seed, they threw their hands up, gave the keys of the castle to some analytics nerd and said, let's lose a bunch of games and get the #1 pick. I'm not going to sit here and say that at the time I wasn't on board because I was sick of that 7-8 seed crap where we knew we weren't going anywhere. But we had dudes you could have built around leading up to when we decided to do that. And instead of trying, we just threw it all away. We had Drew Holiday, we had Nick Vucevic, we had Thad Young. Like we had guys that we had Lou Will. I mean, that's a pretty nice like core that who knows what else happens. I mean, look, we've watched Boston do it, Milwaukee do it. We're watching Cleveland do it. We're watching Atlanta do it. It just like the process was a
But
disaster and a failure.
you said that about Boston, but Boston's only where they are because they picked Tatum at 3 and Brown at 3. Like those were top 3 picks in the draft.
They had the tank to do it, and then all the pieces around
that's
them.
what I'm.
Regardless of whether it's a tank or not, I mean, I don't remember how they got the #1 pick that we ended up trading. Were they that bad that year?
No, Danny had some trades that he had did.
Oh, right. The Brooklyn trade with the Garnett and what do you call it trade? Yeah, I mean, they made a lifetime
the Nets
trade to get those picks. That one of the worst trades in NBA history if you look back on it from Brooklyn's perspective.
Oh, right. Absolutely. But we're not going to develop any talent, Al, as long as we have Rivers as our coach. That's for damn sure.
We haven't done it in 20 plus years.
We've already seen 2 guys develop on different teams than ours because we let them walk because dude wouldn't play him.
Yeah. I mean, that is what it is, man.
We are, Chris, you mentioned we're going to have highs and lows. This is a low. We are at a low point.
Could be worse, though. We could be talking about the Flyers.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's the scary thing. We're not even at the bottom. Those guys are shot.
Real quick, when did they take Marcus Smart? Oh, he was high up.
He was the Embiid year.
He was high up.
He was 5, yeah. All right, let's close segment 1 with 2 different parts there: a Phillies celebration and a Sixers bashing.
What a microcosm for a Philadelphia sports fan.
We get into segment 2. We're going to jump into our other Philadelphia sports team who continues to dominate, the Philadelphia Eagles. We're also going to touch on some other topics in the NFL, so we will be right back with segment 2. Welcome back, everyone, to segment 2, where we'll jump into the Philadelphia Eagles and the NFL. Feels like Groundhog's Day. Another easy win for the Philadelphia Eagles, 35-10 over the Tennessee Titans. Jalen Hurts looks great. A.J. Brown, revenge games, ends up getting the Tennessee Titans GM fired.
How about that?
Earlier today. If that wasn't a direct result of what happened on Sunday, I'm not sure what is. Defense looks good. The run defense seems to be solidified over the last 3 games after a blip on the radar. Chris, I know you wanted to touch on some points, and we always go to you with the Eagles insight first. So give us your thoughts on the victory.
No, I think it was a great game, except for the beginning of I guess it was the first half when we had those line of scrimmage penalties, the false starts with the O-line. I don't know what that was about. It got to the point where I was confused if Hurts had changed something with his cadence at the line of scrimmage or something, because I've never seen anything like that where they had that kind of that great of an O-line just look like idiots and continue to false start over and over like that. That was just strange to me, but they figured it out.
Recording the Christmas album the night before.
Yeah, it must have been. But they got it together on the field when we were playing actual plays and we got to snap the ball and play football. They were dominant like they've been. Then the media, there was one of the guys on one of the local sports radio stations who tried to act like the Titans were going to be a formidable game, and that was a game that the Eagles were going to lose because the season has ebbs and flows in it, and that was a tailor-made loss for them to get. Titans came into that game 6-0 against sub 500 teams, and 1-4 against plus 500 teams over 500. The Eagles showed that stat was meaningful. The Titans are not ready for an opponent the caliber of the Philadelphia Eagles. That was clear. They are one-dimensional. if you stop Derrick Henry, you stop the Titans, and that's been shown to happen the last few weeks actually for them. Their receivers, they got Treylon Burks, who's going to be I think he's going to be a really good player. But other than that, they don't have anybody else that really.
He got knocked out in the first quarter.
Exactly. And
literally,
once that happened, there was no threat from the tight end position, from the wide receiver position. Tannehill can run a little bit, though. Tannehill could be a little bit of a threat from back there to run. And he's an underrated quarterback in the sense of his toughness, not necessarily his stats, but he's a tough dude. I will give him credit for being he's tough. I've seen him different games over the years where he's got banged up and stayed in and took his shots. But speaking of shots, there's no reason why the Eagles are not considered the favorite in the NFL, let alone the NFC, for a title this year at this point in time. There's no reason.
Hold on.
There's no, hold on.
Breaking news. Breaking news.
Break it already.
Philadelphia Phillies have signed Taijuan Walker, 4 years, $72 million from the New York Mets.
Let's go.
I mean, it's good that we took a Met away from New York. That's fine.
He's a good end of the rotation pitcher. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, he's the guy I was talking about. That we all said that as far as
a four. That's great.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Sorry to interrupt, but it was breaking news.
So I thought you were saying that to like say you were going to debate or disagree with what I was saying.
No.
So there's no reason at this point that they're not a favorite for this title this year for the Super Bowl. And to have the media, specifically ESPN, come out with this BS metrics, whatever they have that they came up with, to justify having the Dallas Cowboys as the favorite to win the NFC at not only the favorite, but 50% likely, meaning have like 50% likely to win this. I'm sorry, make the Super Bowl, so win the NFC, and a 30% or 32% chance to win the Super Bowl is insane. Not only was it above the Eagles' 30% to win the NFC and 13% to win the Super Bowl at 11-1, but they had the Eagles at 4. Buffalo and Kansas City have higher percentage chances in their own in the AFC in a situation where they have to go against each other at some point in time, you would think, but having higher chances to win their conference and win the Super Bowl than the Eagles, who have been the best team in football from start to finish all year long, is blatant BS. And the hate that we get as Philadelphia teams is, like I said, I think it's blatant. I think it's BS. And we always say, like, no one likes us, so we don't care. But the truth is we do. And I know for a fact, at least for myself, I do. Because it's who wants to be disrespected? And the Eagles are being disrespected. There's nothing out there that should tell people that whether we do it or not is one thing. Because everybody, look, it only takes one game. That's why NFL playoffs are so awesome. One game could change everything. Okay, and only any given Sunday, anybody can beat anybody, and that's why the NFL is so great. But to have the odds literally at this point now, you're saying against them is just egregious, and for it to be Dallas as the favorite is even more egregious.
Chris, I agree with everything you said. You said two things in particular. You said it's blatant and it's BS. And that's exactly what it is. It's just ESPN pandering to the Cowboy fans, because when it comes out, there's more Cowboy fans than there are Eagles fans probably still around today. So they're just pandering. Like I don't take any of what ESPN or the national media is saying right now as far as football seriously, because they don't know what they're talking about. It's easy to take the Cowboys. It's easy to take the Chiefs. It's easy to take the Bills when the Eagles are sitting right in front of you as the obvious best team in football. They're just pandering to the crowd. So the Eagles played a perfect game, and it's still like I feel like I haven't heard anything about it on the national stage.
And I think that what gets my blood boiling the most, especially from Cowboys fans, is you beat us with Cooper Rush. That was the same Cooper Rush that they were ready to throw Dak Prescott to the Wolves over. And Cooper Rush wasn't playing defense. That daunting Dallas defense was healthy and playing at the length when we beat them 26-17. There was nothing wrong. Parsons was playing, Lawrence was playing, Diggs was playing, I believe. All those guys were playing, and we still put 26 on them and beat them by 2 possessions. So what's up?
So
Dak couldn't play defense. So that's not an excuse.
I'm almost positive the report you're talking about was a ESPN analytics, and I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm pretty sure it's all statistical based. I'm not sure. Like I said, I know analytics is statistical based. I don't know what goes into that formula, but we mentioned last week too. 538 also had the Cowboys analytically better than the Eagles, and some of that may be point differential. They're a little bit better than the Eagles, but the eye test. Look, Dallas is very, very good, very good.
So are the Eagles. Let me give you some stats.
Eagles have been the best team in the NFL this year. I don't think you can argue that. They have been. The question becomes, how are they going to be in the playoffs? And again, we haven't seen.
Well, we don't know how anybody's going to be in the playoffs. It's not the playoffs yet.
No, that's not true. I know Kansas City's going to be in the playoffs. I know.
How you know about Dallas? What's Dallas going to do in the playoffs?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't necessarily have faith in Dallas either. But
that's what they're putting faith in.
Listen, I'm just telling you. You said that you don't know how anybody's going to be. I know how Patrick Mahomes is going to play in a playoff game. I know how Joe Burrow is going to play in a playoff game. I'm not 100%. I've said it many times. Not 100% sure how Jalen Hurts is going to play in a playoff game. I tend to believe, based on the season he had, that he'll be fine. But you still got to see it. You got to see playoff success before you can believe in it. At least for me.
I at this point, I couldn't be more confident. This team that people point to last postseason, that game against the Bucs, and this team is totally different from top to bottom, both as far as the coaching personnel and the product on the field. When Nick Sirianni, when him and his coaching staff, when they really get down to business, man, they embarrass teams. They embarrassed Tennessee Sunday. They saw Tennessee and they saw that run defense and they saw that run offense and they said, guess what we're going to do? Jalen Hurts is going to throw the ball season high 39 times, and we're going to throw all over you, and we're going to make you play catch up with an offense that cannot throw the ball. And they embarrassed those guys. The Phillies defense looked phenomenal too. The linebackers were all over the field. The defensive line, guys, Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat are playing on a different level. They're playing on a different level, and they're not getting the notice that they should be getting as well from the national media. I mean, this is a team that when it's firing and even the special teams played well. Your boy Britton finally comes up big, Chris, with some big returns, some nice returns. Listen, this is a team that, when simply put, there's no one in the league that can match up with them when they're playing the way. When they're even playing, I wouldn't even say they have to play the way they played against Tennessee. They could be a step below that, and there's still going to be some teams that are hard pressed to keep up with them, especially in the NFC. The NFC, there's no one that's keeping up with them.
Al, we had 12 penalties. And we still won by 25 points.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many teams can never say that they did something like that?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, like the Eagles. So let me just give you some rankings. Points per game, we're second in the league. Yards per game, third in the league. Points per play, fourth in the league. Defense-wise, opponent yards per game, we're second. Opponent's yards per play, first, averaging only 4.7 yards a play. Okay. Red zone scoring percentage for touchdowns were sixth. All these are key stats that are important when you're going into the postseason. And we're not even fully healthy. We don't have Avonte Maddox. We don't have Dallas Goedert. We got guys that are key contributors that aren't even playing right now that are going to be valuable in the playoffs. No one's talking also about Darius Slay and Bradbury being I believe 1, 2, or 1 and 3 in the league in the Pro Football Focus rankings for cornerbacks.
I agree with everything you said, except for the injuries, because every team got guys out.
Yeah, so, we're pretty lucky when it comes to injuries.
But I mentioned maybe the playoffs being a different test. Deep down, I agree with you guys. Like, they're the team to beat in the NFC. They're the best team in the conference. Gun to my head, I'm picking the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl out of the NFC without question. It's just a matter of
I'm more confident.
It's one game. Anything can happen in one game. Ball bounces the wrong way.
No, you're right.
They're the best team. They are the best team in the NFC.
I'm more confident in this team than I am in the 2017 team. Like, this team to me can play a divisional game coming off of a bye, blow a team out, go to the NFC Championship, blow a team out, go to the Super Bowl. and play and we'll see what happens. But like they could win the NFC in a rout. And I'll tell you what else. You heard it here first. Dallas is going to be out in the first round in the playoffs. They're going to run into Brady, and they're going to lose in the first round in the playoffs.
I saw you tweet that, and I don't disagree with it, but I got to reassess it when it comes up. But they are on a collision course. They were going to be playing each other in the first round again, unless something stupid happens with the Eagles. You're looking at Tampa and Dallas in round one.
And I'll be honest, the only team that I'm nervous about playing in the playoffs is Tampa because of specifically because of Tom Brady and obviously his history.
I don't think
other than that, I'm not concerned with any team in the NFC, the 49ers included. And now losing Garoppolo, we'll see what happens with that. But I'm not concerned with anybody. They all can get it. Anybody want it, they can get it. You can come here and take lunch from us if you want to try it, but you ain't going to do it.
I want to touch on the Garoppolo situation. Scale of 1 to 10, how important is that injury for San Francisco?
A million?
Yeah, I was going to say at least
I was going to say like a 3.
Can you understand?
Really?
Dude, Garoppolo has been playing extremely well. And now you're putting the ball in the hands of a kid who I know everybody's been saying to death was drafted last pick overall in the draft. I mean, he has no experience whatsoever in the NFL. And now you're giving him, he's the starting quarterback for a team that has hope, NFC championship game, Super Bowl game aspirations.
Yeah, but
that's
Garoppolo's he's not that irreplaceable. Like
you've said it before, though. He has the experience. He's been there, done that.
I get that. I understand that. But you could also put in a formula of, and I don't want to say the Baltimore Ravens, Trent Dilfer, because that defense was a level above what San Francisco has. But they have enough playmakers where you can throw bubble screens and slants. It's not like they have this, it's not the Miami Dolphins who are throwing the ball down the field the entire game and he needs to come in and start chucking it around. It's just slants and screens and give the ball to McCaffrey and let the defense do work. And again, book needs to be out on him. The scouting report needs to be out on him. He played well on Sunday.
He did. McCaffrey's not exactly lighting the world on fire.
No, he's not. But he's still a threat. You game plan for him.
He's a threat, but is he a threat when you have Brock Purdy under center and you can stack the box?
I think he's more of a threat as a pass catcher out of the backfield than he is as a pure runner.
I don't disagree with that. I just think that it's a little much. I mean, honestly, if this injury happened in week 4, I might feel a little bit better about it because now you got a little bit of time for the kid to get, his feet under him. But to ask him to step in week 14 is what we're heading into, right, of the season. And his first game is against the GOAT. That's rough, man. That's rough.
Did you see the line on that game? What would you guess?
Oh, wait, I think I did. I think San Fran's given like 6.5, right?
San Fran's given 6.5.
Yeah.
It seems a lot.
Where's it at?
It's in San Fran.
I'll tell you what that tells you. It tells you that it's going to be one of my picks that no one asked for next week because that's a huge line to be given to the Mr. Irrelevant against the GOAT.
Although it looks like now it's dropped to 3.5.
Oh, that plummets.
I'll tell you what that tells you. That's not going to be one of the
So there was one other topic you brought up that we wanted to touch on for NFL before we wrap segment 2. I guess I could ask you the same way I just asked the Garoppolo question. Does Odell Beckham potentially signing with the Cowboys on a scale of 1 to 10, where does that move your needle? Chris?
Like I said, man, anybody want it can get it. You want to go there, that's fine. We got enough secondary to take care of that.
That
pass rush.
That to me is potentially like an 8 or 9.
Really?
And the reason why is because although I'm not scared of any NFC teams, the only team that I would say, the team that I would say has the best chance of beating the Eagles, taking them by surprise in the playoffs, would be Dallas, only because of the history. It's a division rival. They know each other so well. And when you add an X factor, which is what OBJ is, and I've trashed OBJ in the past. I've called him not an elite receiver. But when you throw him out there on that field with that offense, with a CeeDee Lamb, with a Michael Gallup, with an Ezekiel Elliott, with a Tony Pollard, like that's just one more guy you have to game plan for. And anything can be the thing that puts you over the top. You guys were just saying it in a 1-game playoff. So to me, it's just it makes their offense objectively better. I don't care when he joins the team.
I'll put it at like a 5. I'll split the middle. Like, he's a weapon. He obviously proved that he had something left in the tank last year with the Rams. But it takes time to develop chemistry. And you can jump on the team week 15, week 16.
Well, I'm gonna say a 1 because it already came out today that his medical report was shot.
Yeah, I saw that
Yeah,
too.
I saw
So he, even if he probably won't play anyway at earliest until the playoffs, which is that even, I mean, there's no eligibility issues there with that. He can just.
No, I don't think that works that way in football.
So that'd be the earliest he can play at this point, it looks like. So he won't help them to get any better seating or positioning at this point. But if they were crazy about signing him, there's nothing that would have stopped them from signing him. They're still straddling the fence on it. Not just them, but the other teams involved as well. So that tells me a lot.
I was just reacting to what Adam said as far as it, like if they sign him, right? If he's healthy and they sign him, he's an instant upgrade. I mean, it's CD Lamb and Michael Gallup, and they don't have another receiver. Like
Noah Brown's been all right.
he's an instant upgrade. Noah Brown is not.
He's not a sexy name, but he's been productive for them.
He's
and
okay.
Schultz
Productive than
okay
Quez
too.
Watkins has been.
Yeah, well,
I was actually surprised the Eagles didn't try to make a run at Beckham. But
why mess
we
with
don't
the
need
chemistry?
him.
Why mess with the chemistry?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think it's just a chemistry thing. We don't need him, but I was surprised.
Were you gonna bring in zany Batman?
Beckman, Beckham, Batman.
So there was one other NFL item I wanted to just touch on briefly. We'll go to the AFC. Bengals beat the Chiefs for the 3rd time in a row. Is that something or is that nothing?
It's something.
Yeah, 3 times is. I mean, now it's in their head.
Yeah.
Now it's in their head. 2 is 1 is potentially by luck. 2 is maybe by game planning, preparation. But 3, now you're in their head.
Yeah. Here's why it's something. It's because one of those games was in the AFC Championship. So they already showed that they can do it, not only when it matters, but in Kansas City's house when it matters. So something's going on. I mean, 3 times, that's a lot. And to do it once in the AFC title game, that's a whole lot.
And the Kelsey brothers have come out with a podcast. And I see the clips. I've never listened to it in full, but I've listened to the clips on Instagram.
There's podcasts other than ours?
It's below us in the ratings, believe it or not. But
whose ratings are that?
The Versus.
Yeah.
Travis himself, before the game last week, talked about how important that game was and that he was bringing something extra. And they had shut him down in the championship game, and he was excited to make a statement and let them know that that wasn't the case. And they did it again. 4 for 56 for Kelsey. Basically, they take him out of the game and they say to those receivers, go beat us. And in the beginning of the year, I was down on Kansas City big time. I was proven wrong, but that was my concern, is that the guys on the outside were not the same as they were in the past. And
I told you a few weeks ago the importance of the tight end on offenses, especially a great one like him.
The best receiving wise.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think it's something, and there's a little bit of a demons there. And that you said that they have the game plan and they have the personnel to do things to them that other teams don't. And Joe Burrow thinks he's going to win every game that he steps on the field.
That's my guy. I love Joe. Love him.
And I'm glad we all picked him over Justin Herbert in our under 35.
And he had a hell of a game.
25.
Yeah. He had a hell of a game. 25 for 31, 286, and 2 touchdowns.
He's elevated himself into that top tier of NFL quarterbacks where he needs to be in every discussion for best quarterbacks in the league.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything else you guys want to touch on from last week or in the NFL before we head on to our segment 3?
Yeah, F Dallas. I'll see you at Christmas Eve.
What do you guys got this week?
Oh, yeah.
The game.
I'm going to go Eagles 27, Giants 13, in a game a little bit closer than that score resembles. I think maybe it's 20-13, and the Eagles put it away with like 5 minutes left to score a touchdown.
Yeah, I think that we've last few years have really owned the Giants, but I think this is a tough spot for the Eagles. I think they win the game, but I think it's a nail-biting game. I think this game is I could see like 26-24. Maybe a field goal at the end, or them missing a field goal at the end, something like that. I think it's gonna be really, really close.
I'm more in line with you, Chris. I got like a 23-20 game, Birds on top. I think it's going to be close. It's just really hard week to week in the NFL to come out. I mean, they've just had two extremely good offensive performances in a row, and it's going to be hard to do that a third week in a row, especially at a division rival, even though the Giants are very obviously overrated and playing above their heads.
Don't be surprised if the Eagles win this game and I take the Bears for the week after. But
You
I'm not doing it yet. I'm just telling you now, just don't be surprised.
You already did a few weeks back.
Maybe I'm consistent. Consistent.
Listen, this season, I mean, the rest of the way for the Birds has the makings of a 16-1 season.
The Dallas game will be tough.
Yeah, tough.
If we, dude, I've never been so hyped up for a Christmas Eve, let alone for a football game in a long time. I can't wait for that game. That game means so much as far as the regular season is concerned. That's going to be awesome.
Should we skip Christmas and do a live stream?
Oh,
you think our family would be okay with it?
A good time.
Sure, they wouldn't mind.
Yeah, don't tease
All right, we will be right back. Segment 3. If you're our age, we're going to make you feel a little bit older, as we are going to do a draft of the best athletes born the year 2000 or later. So we will be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to segment 3. As I mentioned, we're going to make you feel old. The year 2000. I mean, we're all in the same grade, guys. We were freshmen in high school, I guess, the back end of freshman year. Al, were you dating Mary Nolan at that time?
Oh, wow. Freshman year, I guess so, right?
Yeah, March maybe.
We were at spring break, maybe. What's it, December, the winter ball?
Shout out Mary Nolan. But these people were just being born, and now they are, I wouldn't say professional athletes, but they are athletes on the way. And we are going to do a draft of the best athletes born the year 2000 or later. And basically what it's going to be is like we're buying stock. So we're not buying based on their performance to date. We are betting on their future and trying to put together the best roster to this point. We've done a draft order. Al's going to pick 1. Chris is going to pick 2. I am going to pick 3. So with that said, I'm going to throw it to Al for the first pick. And Chris thinks there's a consensus number 1. So I wouldn't want to screw this one up if I were you.
I have no idea who to pick. So
oh my God.
This is going to be a pretty chaotic draft, at least from Al's basement is concerned here. I'm looking at my list of people here. And what I'm trying to do is, this is the kind of draft where we're trying to pick guys who at the end of like in 20 years from now, we look back and say who was the best, who had the best career. I'm trying to pick the name that is potentially going to be a Hall of Famer, potentially going to have one, if not multiple rings by the end of that run. And I'm going to throw that all out the window, because I'm going to pick a guy that I can actually talk a little bit about here. I'm going to pick local kid from Camden, DJ Wagner, as my number 1 pick.
What?
In the born after 2000
Is he in your school?
DJ Wagner is the number 1 ranked high school player in the nation. Son of DeJuan Wagner, who attended Camden High School, who graduated around the same time that we did. I believe he graduated in 2003. Do you remember what DeJuan Wagner was famous for?
His 100-point game.
Dropped 100 points against Camden County Tech. He made 10 threes. He converted 42 of 61 field goals attempted in that game. So DJ Wagner was recruited by everybody in the nation. He chose Coach Cal. He's going to Kentucky. He's averaging about 20 points a game. He's the player of the year already, as named by Gatorade. He's a guy that I think the sky's probably the limit for. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But he's a local kid, and I can root for him. So in 20 years, when we revisit this draft on the pod, when we're all old and gray, we're in our 50s, I can say
some of us are already gray.
I can not only say I told you so, but I'll be wearing my DJ Wagner Sixers jersey, where he'll have won a couple rings alongside his backcourt partner Tyrese Maxey, kicking the ball out to an older grizzled veteran, Tobias Harris. That's my number 1 overall pick, DJ Wagner out of Camden.
I'll tell you what, Al.
Tupac changes.
I'll tell you what, Al. That pick was worse than changes in the song draft.
So when I
could have had him round 5.
When I put
together
had
him around 25.
When I put together my list without looking up any birthdays or anything, I had 2 names that immediately popped into my head, and it was the guy that's probably going to get drafted next, and it was DJ.
All right. Well, this opened
up.
You
could have had him if we swap picks. You could have had him.
This is going to be monument. This is going to be bigger than all my Ben Simmons hate in 10 years when Wagner is like multi-time All-Star, NBA champ. I can't wait.
Actually, one thing you were wrong about is what DeJuan Wagner was famous for. He actually was more famous for telling me and Ryan Feldman when we interviewed him at the Trenton Shootout that he would love to interview with us, but he had to go to the bathroom first. That's what he's even more famous for.
You know what else he's famous for? His jersey is upstairs in my bedroom right now. His Cleveland Cavs jersey. I have a DeJuan Wagner jersey. I should have put it on.
I think I remember. I read his Wikipedia recently. He almost died.
Yeah, he had a bladder or a kidney infection or something like that. That's why he was adamant to go to the bathroom when we were going to interview him, because he can't not go to the bathroom when he has to go to the bathroom. So he was like, "Yeah, I'd love to talk to y'all, but I got to go to the bathroom right quick because I got an infection." And we were like, "Oh, all right, maybe he just, you know what I mean?" But that's what it's about. Not to put all his business out there, but I think it's well documented. Anyways, my pick now.
Yeah,
go DJ.
This is like when the Blazers took Greg Oden and then they just left Kevin Durant for Seattle.
No, it's more like when the Patriots drafted Curtis Strange this year, whatever his name is, and from Chattanooga in the first round, that guard that no one ever heard of.
I thought you were going to say it's like when Ludus took Sebastian Janikowski number 1 overall.
Same tier of decision.
When Brett took the Jaguars defense at the 7th pick.
I'm here for a good time, not a long time with this.
So I'm going to go with what I thought was the consensus number 1 pick. I'm feeling like the Vikings in the war room right now when they got Justin Jefferson. Victor Wembanyama, who, for those who don't know, he plays on the Metropolitans 92 team in France. He is the next big prodigy superstar in the NBA. He is 7'4". He is 230 pounds. He has handles and a jump shot like Kevin Durant, and he has defense like Joel Embiid. He is a complete package player, probably the best total package we've ever seen coming into the NBA. We talked about in previous episodes how I mentioned I think that in 5 or 10 years, being 6'10" is going to be considered small in the NBA. If that comes to fruition, part of the reason why will be because of folks like this dude coming out. Wembanyama is going to be a megastar. He already is. He's French. He plays in France, yet in Philly right now we are talking about him. And he's 18 years old. So Victor Wembanyama is my pick. And whoever ends up with the number 1 pick in the NBA draft is going to be celebrating in the streets, having this guy in their organization for the next 10 to 15 years.
Chris, it's obviously the pick, but it's boring. It's more Victor Wembanyama, the big.
Well, according to you, my history of draft picks, allegedly, I gotta have safe picks.
Yeah, no, Wembanyama's the pick.
Yeah.
Although, I do not have Wembanyama number 1 on my board.
Who are you guys looking at?
And you guys can sit here and you can pick on potential and stuff that's been unseen. But at the 3 and the 4 spot, I'm going to get 2 guys who are going to make all NBA teams this year. So I know they can do it at this level. At my first pick, I'm taking the guy that I said was a value pick to win MVP this year, and maybe he's not there at that level, but I'm taking Zion Williamson, who's averaging
he's on my board.
He's averaging 24 points per game. He's shooting 59%, a year off of shooting 61% and averaging 27 and 7 and 3. And he's doing it on a team that I believe is in second or third place in the Western Conference. I'm not overly concerned about the injury history. I mean, we've seen the foot injury with Joel, where he's had to break it twice before it got healed. Kevin Durant had the same issue. It seems to me that this thing is just a foot that had to break twice with that navicular, I think it's called the navicular bone in the foot. Does he need to drop some weight? Sure, but I'm not worried about it at his age. He will. Taking Zion Williamson as my first pick. And my second pick, I'm taking Anthony Edwards. Again, elite scorer in the NBA, in my opinion, has the ability to be a top 5 to 7 player come his peak. Just a flat-out scorer. And I think you're going to see him really take off with Karl Anthony Towns out of the lineup now. Averaging 23, 5, and 4 for Minnesota already as a 21-year-old, and really, really showcased himself in the playoffs last year. So give me Anthony Edwards and Zion Williamson at 3 and 4, and I'm very happy with those picks in the term.
Yeah, so I had Edwards last week on our list for the future first-time All-Stars this year predictions. He's a great player. I love him. He's one of my favorite players in the league, actually. But you guys got to expand out the box here, man. I gave you guys a window for athletes, male, female, any sport, anywhere. Like,
oh no, don't do it.
So, I hang out across the pond, bro. I'm staying in Europe. I'm a soccer guy. Erling Haaland, Man City. This guy is making, as a 21-year-old, now 22, $900,000 a week playing for Man City. I mentioned before last week that a lot of those guys in the soccer leagues over there get paid on weekly wages versus yearly contracts. And in 13 matches so far this year on his new team in Man City, who's the best team in the Premier League, he's got 18 goals and 3 assists. He came from Dortmund, who is one of the premier teams in the Bundesliga, the German soccer league, which is arguably the best soccer league in the world. And in 67 games for Dortmund, all he did was score 62 goals when he was 19, 20, and 21 years old in the greatest league in the world. This guy is a star. It was a huge bidding war for him between Man City and Liverpool and Chelsea, and basically everybody except Tottenham, of course, because why would we be involved with someone that good? But nonetheless, this guy is the biggest soccer player probably right now globally, especially at his age. And because of his age, this is also an easy pick. I love my first 2 picks. I'll go toe-to-toe with anybody with those 2.
You could have had him in the 5th round. Me and Al we're not picking soccer guys. So like you could have.
Well, if we were doing it with if it was like a global situation, it would not be a 5th round situation.
I know, I understand that, but I'm just saying like there's no soccer guys coming on my board.
That's why I knew once Al picked DJ Diddles or whatever he said his name was. I knew once he picked him that I was getting Wembanyama and Holland back to back. I was straight.
You better put some respect on DJ Wagner's name, Chris.
I'm just playing.
Draft
and
strategy.
He's a kid. He's a kid. I'm just messing.
Your draft strategy has been exposed. You're pandering to the one German dude that keeps on downloading the pod.
Dude, we got to keep him going. We got to keep him happy,
all these international guys that no one in the States has ever heard of. I don't even know what the guy's name is that you picked. You said a bunch of words that I never heard of before. You said Dortmund and Bundesliga. Is that the guy's name?
Erling Haaland. He's from Norway. Look him up. See how popular he is worldwide.
2 weeks in a row, we get a Premier League rant, but we can't get him to do 10 minutes on the World Cup.
Premier.
All right. Well, so Chris picked Earl Grey Tea or James Earl Jones or whoever the hell he just picked. So I got the next 2 picks, and I'll take an established guy, a guy that right now is one of the best wide receivers in football, Jamar Chase. I'm going to take right now as it stands. He's played 8 games this season, 700 yards, 6 touchdowns. Obviously, his rookie year, he blows up 1,400 yards, 13 touchdowns. He's already well established as one of the best wide receivers in the league. We just spoke about Joe Burrow. He has one of the best quarterbacks in the league thrown to him. I can see the 2 of them being together for a very, very long time. The rookie of the year last year, he's an obvious Pro Bowler for years to come going forward. And probably a guy that at the end of his career might have a ring or two. So I'll go ahead and take a quote safe pick, and a pick that I should take, and I'll take Jamar Chase with that second round pick.
I would have taken him if he fell under the radar. I didn't realize he was a 2000 or before. I lost track of Jamar Chase.
He's the only one that snuck in.
Yeah, I didn't really look at NFL because I just didn't think there was that many of them. Good pick.
Yeah. All right. I got another football pick, guys.
Sean Clifford, I don't think he's 25, I think.
Clifford was born before 35. Us. He was born before us. So I got another football pick. And this is a guy who has the name. He has yet to step on a college campus and throw a ball in a college game.
Oh my God. He's picking grade schoolers.
He chose a team.
I know he's taking
that was probably against dad's wishes and his uncle's wishes and grandpop's wishes. And he chose to go to the University of Texas next year. So the kid I'm taking with my third pick is one Arch Manning. Here comes the money.
I'm back.
Listen, Arch Manning, 100+ touchdowns in his 4-year high school career to less than 20 picks, 19 picks. If he has even half the career that his father had, he's going to be an absolute amazing talent in the NFL. He has all the pedigree. He has all the DNA, all the tools. I could see him leading Texas to maybe a Big 12 title, probably a college playoff appearance or two now that we're jumping up to 12 teams. And just a guy that I'm trying to buy low on potential. I was told that this was kind of like a stock draft. So Adam, I've been known to pick some penny stocks in the past, and maybe I'm doing the same thing here with some of these picks. But I think in 5 years, when we're on episode 322 of the pod, we'll look back and we'll say, Al was right. Al was right
about episode 22,
about
segment
Tupac.
3.
He was right about Tupac, and he was right about Arch Manning.
I'll tell you this, and I mentioned it in a text thread earlier. Having all of your thoughts and takes on file is fantastic. I went back and listened to segment when we talked a little bit about Jacob deGrom's contract, and me and Guess, the basic debate back and forth was, if you're a team trying to get him, whether or not the 5th year would be worth it and you'd be willing to do it. And obviously that's what Texas ended up having to do. But that was the debate. And having that stuff on file, it's fantastic. And I can't wait to one day look back on it and see some of our takes from some of this stuff. So I'll keep, what's his name? Woody Manning? Is that his name?
No, Bundesliga Manning.
All right, Chris, you're up again. 3rd round.
How many rounds are we going again?
Go 5. That's the standard.
All right, good. All right, I got plenty in here. All right. So the next one I'm gonna take is I'm actually surprised, Seltzer, you didn't take this kid yet.
Oh, don't do it.
Who do you think I'm gonna take?
I'm not telling you because let me hear it.
I'm taking Julio Rodriguez.
That was one of my next picks, but that's not who I had.
I got him on my list.
Yeah, Julio Rodriguez, who's actually almost born in 2001. 21 years old, rookie year last year, had 28 home runs, 75 RBIs, hit 284. Kid's a stud.
He's fantastic.
Great home run derby that he had at the All-Star weekend or All-Star break. I think Seattle has, growing up, you guys know my favorite player of all time was Ken Griffey Jr. And I think that this kid has the potential to be the next Ken Griffey for them in that organization. And I'm looking forward to watching his development. He seems like a good kid on top of everything else. Doesn't seem like a troublemaker or a pompous kind of kid. Seems pretty grounded. And Seattle's already put a lot of money and investment in him as it is already from this past year's success that he had. So I'm also going to do that and make him my 3rd pick in this draft.
All right. It's a really good pick. I was planning on taking him at the turn here, He wasn't the guy that I was worried about you picking, but I did have him on my list. I'm just checking one thing right here.
You know who I'm worried about him becoming? Because he's what, 19?
21.
21? I might be no, it was him. I get a little bit of vibes of Jose Cruz Jr.
Oh, that's a tough take.
That's a bust out.
Yeah.
Jose Cruz Jr. But like he was anointed as like the next big thing, second coming. And he was also like what, 20 at the time when Seattle started, you know what I mean, really pushing him. And he never became anything, obviously.
Yeah, no, I remember those days when we were talking about him as well as like someone that could you know.
It has nothing to do with the player. Like I'm not comparing the player, just the scenario. Just it's a mirror image.
Did Cruz come up with Toronto or Seattle? I think he played for both.
Seattle.
Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the time,
he actually had a good career though, Al. He had 200 home runs. I mean, he wasn't what we thought he would be, but he had a solid career. I mean, I'm looking up now. In 2000, he had 31 home runs, 76 ribbies. 2001, 34 home runs, 88 RBI. Like he had a good career.
I can't believe Jose Cruz is getting some shout outs tonight.
Getting some love.
He actually is the current hitting coach for, I think, the Tigers.
How about that? All right. I'm at the turn here. My third round pick is, I'm going to save my sleeper for my fourth round. For my third round, I'm going to go quarterback as well. Obviously not an NFL player at this point. Actually not even eligible for this year's NFL draft. But to me, the closest thing to Patrick Mahomes is Caleb Williams at USC. So I'm going to go with him as I think he better than CJ Stroud, better than Bryce Young. He's the next big thing that you're going to look for on an NFL team. So give me Caleb Williams at the University of Southern California as my third round pick.
Yeah, that's a risky pick because wait until next year when he enters Big Ten country and he sees what real football is like.
He's the
real deal. I just don't trust USC quarterbacks.
Me neither. No. Totally agree with that.
But I think I'm in on him. I love his style of play. My next pick. I'm lucky this draft wasn't in 2 weeks because this guy'd be a first round pick. You know who I'm picking?
In 2 weeks?
No.
The PNC championship is in 2 weeks.
You think a Corn Ferry guy?
No.
No, come on, Chris.
Charlie Woods.
I knew, dude. I had a feeling you were going to do that.
Now look,
the pick of the draft.
I don't think that he's
going to be good though.
There's a lot of people who say that even for his age group, as much as we see him on TV, he's not as highly ranked as some other people think. I don't care. He's got the DNA. He's got the blood. He's going to get the fame that comes with it. As long as he can handle that, he will prove himself and be a player on the PGA Tour. And he is going to have all eyes on him, more eyes than all of your draft picks combined. Even guest Norwegian soccer star Charlie Woods is the future. He's the steal of the draft. I just won the draft at the end of the fourth round.
Or the Live Tour.
Not great having that.
It's something a little dirty, I feel, about picking a kid that's like 13 in this thing.
That's the point of this draft.
Yeah, like,
but he's man. I mean, he wasn't even born damn near in the 2010s.
Charlie Woods. And again, if this draft within 2 weeks.
My son Jackson is still on the board. I might pick him in my last pick. He might be.
Well, you know what? You should. You should.
Could you imagine DJ Wagner and Jackson Ryan bookending that roster?
Wagner.
I told you things were going to get wild in this draft. I had no plan coming in.
Yeah,
clearly. All right, so I'm going to take. Man, there's like 3 guys I got that I went with 2 spots. I'm going to take who I'm hoping is a future Philadelphia Eagle come April. And that is Will Anderson from Alabama.
I knew you were going to pick him. You've talked about him.
Will Anderson is I believe, and a lot of other scouts believe, is a generational defensive lineman out of Alabama. I mentioned before, at this point, if I'm Howie Roseman, especially with the history he has of drafting, before the last 2 seasons. I'm literally exclusively scouting SEC, and in a spot where the Saints literally gift wrapped in that trade a top 5. I think right now, I think it's the 5th pick. It's around the wheelhouse to take him. He's projected between 3 and 5 based on who gets those picks and who needs quarterback and things like that. Man, if we end up getting this kid and having him on the outside and having him meshed in with the guys we were talking about earlier, Al, with Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick, and Jordan Davis in the middle, the Eagles have a great chance. Will have a great chance to be a great team for a long time. So wishful thinking. Hopefully it comes to fruition. But Anderson is my 4th pick from Alabama.
All right. Al's last 2.
Another boring pick, Chris. Listen, this pick is a game changer. All right. This pick is already proven, despite the fact that at 22 years of age, there's still so much left to do in this person's career. This person was the first to become a 2-time gold-winning Olympian for the half pipe at the Beijing, the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics.
What in the?
This person is a 6-time X Games gold medalist and the first to win 2 gold medals in snowboarding at the Winter Youth Olympic Games. This person is the future and the present of snowboarding. This person appeared on a special edition of the Kellogg's Cornflakes box and set a new record for fastest selling cereal box in Kellogg Company history. This person is 22-year-old American snowboarder Chloe Kim, who I believe will go on to win more gold medals than any woman in the history of the Olympics. So I'm taking Chloe Kim with my
Chloe Kim actually is not a bad pick. I'm up on Chloe Kim, but
you've killed the credibility of not only this draft but all future drafts. With your
attitude. We got to go outside the box. Everybody in the NBA.
I say outside the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes box.
Listen, Al, I'm shocked. I don't even know if her birthday is within that time frame, but I'm shocked you didn't pick like Sabrina Ionescu.
You still got another pick.
Oh, Paige Beckers is on my list.
Her too. Yeah.
If it wasn't for the bum knee, she'd be next. All right.
I was hoping by the time that she was in the draft that Philly would get a WNBA team and scoop her right up in that expansion draft.
Well, she might not even be the best player on that UConn team anymore. What? It might be Ozzie Fudd.
Speaking of that, is Hoyu fat under 22? Is he able to be in this? I got to look up his age. He might be my next pick.
It's a good question. All right.
With
my last pick, I'll let you guys. Do you want me to pick a real pick here?
I don't care what you do. You've already established yourself as last place in this draft.
There was a lot of like good names. I thought though they were just like young and like I don't know. All right. With the last pick in the draft for me, I will go ahead and take someone who I think might be the person who is taking the crown in their sport because someone just retired as the top in that sport. So I'm going to take Coco Gauff.
Oh, I had her on as my pick.
I'm going to take Coco.
Yeah, well, I'm proud. I like that pick.
Yeah.
Right? You like that?
I like that.
I don't think I was just reading up on her. Not that I'm a tennis guy. It seemed like they want her to be the next thing, but she might not be good enough to be the next big thing. But I had her on the list.
I don't disagree with that. She's only 18 though. She's ranked number 4 in the world in doubles. She's currently ranked number 7 in the world as a singles player. Highest ranking was number 4. And with Serena kind of paving the way and stepping aside here, although I know she said like the door's always open or whatever, but she's done. I think that sets the stage for another American phenom on the female side of the bracket in tennis to start to make a name for themselves. And I think that Coco could be that person. She made I believe it was the Wimbledon finals that she made?
Yeah, I think it was.
So she's already gotten a little bit of a taste of the success. Even though she didn't win that. So I think that she's someone that I wouldn't be surprised if she put it all together and became a heck of a tennis player. And I have no problem with her being on my team of absolute studs.
Shout out Coco Gauff.
Yeah, no, that's a good pick now.
You're up.
All right. So actually, Steve Ho You Fat was actually born in 1988, so he's out.
Hey, you better take Steve Ho You Fat Jr.
Oh, you fat? You got kids, son? I'm sure he does. He's actually on Wembanyama's basketball team. He's on Metropolitan's 92 also. So with my last pick, I got a couple guys I could go with, but I'll just say them at the end as just a quick rundown, I guess, because I really want to take this kid. I believe in him a lot. I think that we've talked about him before, and we've mentioned how help is on the way in terms of our rotation. I'm taking Andrew Painter from the Phillies farm system. This kid is 19 years old and already in Double-A. His career ERA so far in a year and a half of minor league baseball is 1.48. He has 167 strikeouts and 109 and 2/3 innings pitched. Last year with Reading, he had a 2.54 ERA. But before that, playing in A-ball, Clearwater and Jersey Shore combined, he had a combined ERA around 1.1 something or 1.2. He's been dominant, and he's only 19. When he becomes 20, 21, 22 years old, he's going to be special. And there's some comparisons. I was watching MLB Network the other day, and they were talking about different prospects, and he was one of them. And they were saying that a lot of guys thought of him as the next Josh Beckett, and I could definitely see that. In his prime, Beckett was pretty dominant. The Phillies have a special prospect on their hands. They better not mess him up. Andrew Painter is number 5 on my list.
Let's hope that pans out. Let's all hope.
Yes.
Yes.
If it does, listen, having him, Nola, and Wheeler in the same rotation and Suarez, Ranger as a 4 at that point, look out, dude. That's lights out. That goes with anybody, toe-to-toe with anybody.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So it's time for Mr. Irrelevant. And I have a special spot in my heart for kids that are brought up by not the best parents. And this guy fits that bill. I mentioned Caleb Williams earlier. He's not eligible to be drafted until 2024. This kid also falls in that same boat. And not only is his father a murderer, but one time he blew me off in the front of the Age Water Ice stand in Roxborough. That's the bigger crime, in my opinion. But the number 1 ranked receiver in college football is Marvin Harrison Jr. So I'm going to take him. St. Joe's Prep, I believe, or Roman.
No, St. Joe's
Roman.
Prep.
St. Joe's Prep.
Roman?
No, Marvin Harrison went to Roman.
Right, Harrison
right. I thought they both did. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ohio State seems to be the consensus number 1 wide receiver in the country. Will be the number 1 wide receiver drafted in 2024.
Listen, you ain't gonna have us getting sued for slander. So Marvin Harrison was an alleged situation. He is not a convicted murderer. So take that back.
He did blow me off in front of the Age Water Ice stand up.
That we can confirm.
That's not slander.
That is confirmed. You can confirm that.
Well, what'd you say to him? Tell the story. What did you?
So I worked in a water ice stand where my responsibility was to mix the water ice in the back, and I would bring it up as it was needed, supply and demand. And I went up there and I was putting the lime or the chocolate or the vanilla in the thing. And this guy's at the stand and he looks like Marvin Harrison. And I'm like, hey, did anybody ever tell you look like Marvin Harrison? And the guy was just like, nah. And I walk away. And my boss was up there and she goes, nobody ever asked you that? And he goes, Well, I am him. I just didn't feel like talking to that kid.
Good for him. Now, we should preface that by saying that he did go to
my grade school.
He did go to Shawmont, was it elementary school in Roxborough, where literally feet from where the water ice stand was.
And now, after what, 17 or 18 years, you're getting your revenge by putting the Seltzer curse on his son by taking him in this draft. So okay. I applaud you.
Again, I just think that people need to hear that story so they know what kind of person he is. The senior, not the junior. So I really just took the junior so I could tell the story about the senior.
Good game plan. Good game plan.
Absolutely.
Good strategy.
All right, so there goes our draft. You guys have your teams written down? You want to share your teams?
Would love to.
All right, Al, you're the first.
Al, please go first, please.
So my picks in order were DJ Wagner, Jamar Chase. Actually, let me say DJ Wagner, who was a high school basketball player, Jamar Chase, who's currently in the NFL, Arch Manning, who was a high school football player, Chloe Kim, a world-renowned snowboarder, and Coco Gauff, a world-renowned tennis player.
Chris?
So I have Victor Wembanyama, Erling Haaland, Julio Rodriguez, Will Anderson, and Andrew Painter.
All right. And I have Zion Williamson, Anthony Edwards, Caleb Williams. Why? I just drew a complete blank on Tiger Woods' son's name.
Chaz.
Charlie Woods. I just blanked real bad on that. Charlie Woods and Marvin Harrison Jr. Those are my 5.
And when we put this vote out there for this one, right, and we get hopefully more than 3 votes, 2 of them being from the 2 of you, I want to make clear that, like, I feel like if we were buying and selling stock in these humans,
you're in last.
Yeah, my team would be the lowest price.
You are definitely the cryptocurrency penny stock of the.
I think that needs to be taken into consideration.
All right. Yeah, that's fair. But listen, we need to wrap this because I have to poop.
Well, listen, real quick, can I rattle off the names of the people that we missed?
Yeah.
Okay. NBA, Boncaro, Garland, LaMelo, Cade Cunningham. NFL, Hutchinson, and Sauce.
Wait, who'd you say for NBA?
Boncaro, Garland, LaMelo, and Cade Cunningham.
And Evan Mobley and Scotty Barnes.
I left them off. I didn't think they were like
Evan Mobley may be the best out of all of them, but okay, that's fine. Tyrese Maxey. Shout out.
What about Chet Holmgren? No Chet Holmgren love?
I had him on my list, so he was way down there.
I got NFL, I got Hutch and Garden and Sauce.
All right, I gotta poop.
All right, I got Bronny James and Sharif O'Neal.
Oh, Bronny James, a good one.
I got guest boy Gable Stevenson signed to the WWE. And then
when's he gonna show up? He ain't been on the show yet.
I have no idea. Last but not least, I have homegrown talent. I can't believe nobody took her. Monet Davis. Shout out Monet Davis.
All right. Listen, we got to drop that beat. It's a dire situation.
Yeah, drop a deuce so we can drop
more than a beat.
Drop that beat. Later.